Right, some 4 minutes past the top of the hour. Welcome. This is Morning Cafe. I'm just really standing in Ringita right about now. I want to have a very interesting conversation, particularly children. Young kids, if you watch TV, Sahi, Team Sahara. This Team Sahara is National Geographic's a whole production. They've done some amazing TV series on conservation of the same and just going around not only Kenya but also Africa. They'll be introducing themselves and telling us why conservation, what really matters when it comes to environment and how important really it is for them. I'll start on my immediate left. Who are you?
Hello.
Hello.
My name is Shana. And I really feel like conservation is important because it's quite literally our future. Imagine a whole other generation without knowing what a lion is, without knowing what an elephant is. So I think conservation is very important and we need to strive to keep it alive. Yeah.
It reminds me of when we always hear about dinosaurs. I still never believe dinosaurs are real, but the fact that we've never had them. Do you believe dinosaurs are real?
I do.
Wow.
I do.
How about you?
Okay, my name is Marita, and I think conservation is very important. Just as Shana said, it's that we need to conserve our environment for the future generation to see whether, like, our grandchildren will see, like, what a lion is. You know, they're very heavily poached nowadays. So we need to conserve these endangered species so our future generation can learn to also conserve our environment more and our Mother Earth to stay healthy.
All right. And I'll be getting to know what so far you've done when it comes to that as well. And then finally?
I'm Maisha, and I think it's really important to pursue conservation because we're fighting for our future and our world. If we do nothing to protect it, then we're just going to have nothing. So, yeah.
Right. And we'll also be joined by Trish Sawa. She is the Chief Operations Officer at Wildlife Direct, also telling us all about the role of children in conserving environment and what Wildlife Direct is also doing, and it's all kind of programs it does as well. Now back to you. When you take a look at, because as you rightfully say, in the future, the things that we do right now, they can be quite subtle that we assume this doesn't really matter. For you, what are the subtle things that you look around and see people do and they should be doing really?
I feel like, especially when it comes to marine life, that one plastic bag that you throw in the sea and think, oh, it's just one, it won't hurt. Imagine if everyone else is throwing just one. How many are we on this planet? And marine life will really be affected by all of that, both the plants in the sea and the animals. Because for example, turtles, they think that they can mistake a trash bag for a jellyfish, which they eat. So they end up eating the trash bag, and that's clearly not healthy for them. Yeah.
How about you, Marita? What are the subtle things that people do that really piss you off around where you live?
Especially in school, like school places, you can find a lot of litter, like juice boxes, like plastic bottles for like soda and stuff that they throw around and say, this is just like a little bit, like it won't really hurt the environment. But you see, everyone has that mindset, like it's so small that it won't really affect the environment. But if everyone does it now, it's going to just pile up, and now our earth will start dying. Like you're basically choking the environment, because plastic lasts for a while, over 100 years. Even though it's buried, even though it's anywhere, it lasts for a really long time. So if you litter with the mindset of, it'll just go away, it's just not good for the environment, because,
right. Hudson, do you think these people know? Do you think they're aware that whatever they're doing is wrong?
I think a lot of people don't know, but the people who do know, I don't think they care too much. I think the main issue with stuff like that is there's no education, so people don't understand what they're doing, or they just don't care.
Have you, because you really are in this whole space of conservation, have you had conversations with people and you see someone probably in the city and they are dropping something, and you approach them and tell them, hey, this is wrong. Have you ever tried that?
I've never, in public I've done it a couple of times, but when I'm like at school with my friends and stuff, if anybody does that, and at home, then yeah, I tend to just, if it's somebody I know, then tell them that's not okay, and if it's somebody out in public, then yeah, I might pick it up after them, but most of the time, if I see somebody littering, I'll say that's not okay.
And now I'm curious, because you say even in school, so this means in schools, the kind of education system that is there. Shana, do you learn environment and conservation in school?
I mean, it's not a subject. I feel like trying to keep your environment clean should be a no-brainer. Yeah. Yeah.
Marita?
We do pick up a few things like in subjects like nutrition and like agriculture. But yeah, as she said, it's supposed to be something automatic. We have to know how to do it without being told or taught.
Because I remember back in the day we used to have the environment clubs. Are they still there right now?
I'm not sure if they still exist, but if they do, we can make new ones, you know?
Yeah, we should be able to like come up with clubs to do with it. Yeah.
Right. Now let's talk about Team Sayare. The fact that all of you are presenters in this whole season 2, and we'll be getting to know even from Trish. So far, recorded partnership with the National Geographic, Disney as well, the U.S. Embassy, and all this whole partnership. Shada, how has it been, this whole production, that journey, getting into your even interest and passion, getting into this production?
It's honestly been amazing. Filming the whole show has been great. Clearly, I have amazing people here to take me through the whole process, and the crew was very nice. And then, apart from on set, the people, I feel like the show in general, Team Sayare, very, very much helps everyone around it, everyone watching in other countries, other continents. It really helps them become more aware, which, yeah, that's what we're thriving to do.
Marita, how did you know about Team Sayare?
I knew about it. My mom introduced me to the program, saying that since I'm very passionate about the environment, like before even this program started, she said maybe I should give it a go. And I ended up getting like the part and spreading my awareness around the continent. And hopefully the show will go international and make it to probably the US, probably to other countries, so that we can educate more people.
Oh yes, and it's one lovely show. How about you? How did you get into this whole the Team Sayare production? How has it been for you?
I've really enjoyed it. It's been really good. I'm very passionate about the environment and especially conservation of animals, and so it's been nice to be able to like feel heard. I've never felt really like represented about that before, but I like now I've got like my incredible friends here who get it. They understand what I feel about the environment, and people all over Africa are seeing it and understanding why it's important to look after the environment. So.
And I love how it's curated. Just looking at it and watching it, it has this curation of just for children, but then I was enjoying it. And there's something that you're mentioning, that one of the episodes about poachers, you're saying how you really, really hate poachers. Tell me about that.
I have never understood the mindset of killing something innocent, even if it's like a little bug in the house. I get so annoyed.
Real?
Yeah, I've always been I think I'm really empathetic towards like things that can't speak for themselves, and it's always made me really angry to see helpless creatures being like, they're abused, they're assaulted, even animal trafficking, everything that happens to them makes me so angry, and I've never understood the mindset behind killing an animal for money. I've never understood why you would kill something.
Right. Marita, what are your thoughts about poaching? Because I know you've traveled in different parts of the country. This whole production a bit. You've talked to a number of people, obviously. What are your thoughts about poaching, really?
Well, my thoughts about poaching is that mainly people poach for money and like using the products from the animal to like gain income, but like they poach to the point where most animals in Nairobi and Kenya are very endangered now because they've been overdoing it. And as Maisha said, it really pisses me off, especially when people do it without even a care in the world, what it would do to the environment, what it will affect the ecosystem, because we have a very balanced ecosystem in our world. So if you take out one element, everything will go toppling down, just like a Jenga tower. Yeah. So you have to keep it balanced, and we have to raise awareness on poaching because it's terrible for the environment.
And the episode that I'm talking about, you had interviewed one of the poachers deep in the ground. Was it in Masai Mara? Or,
it was in Amboseli.
Amboseli, yes. How was the experience getting up close with a former poacher, now a ranger? Tell us about that experience and what he told you.
Well, it was amazing to know that somebody turned a new leaf, that they turned away from poaching and became a game warden, from killing animals to protecting them. It was an amazing experience to know what they had gone through in their childhood, like what had made them do this, what had led up to becoming a poacher, and the sudden realization of how it affects the environment. It was an amazing experience to know that he changed for the greater good.
Mm-hmm. And Shana, the reason I'm asking about even the poaching, and even for the viewers to also understand, is when you listen to some of these people, when they talk about their journey, they tell you they got into this when they were children, I mean, around the same age as you'd be, still in schools, and they'd be told by their guardians, their parents, we have to do this because we have to survive, we have to look for something to eat. So at that age, the child doesn't really understand the dangers of it. What would be your thoughts on children even understanding this whole concept of poaching, the dangers really, not only even poaching, but the dangers of the harm to environment?
I feel like it's very important to teach a child from a young age because that's what they grow up with. That's what Team Sayari is trying to achieve, to make more children and even adults more aware of poaching and why it's wrong. For example, poaching elephants for their ivory. I feel like that's very wrong. Like, you're wearing a necklace made out of ivory. What exactly are you showing? You're showing that an elephant had to be sacrificed just so that you can feel good wearing jewelry. That's wrong. And I feel like we need to teach children that from a young age so that they can end up giving that message, sharing that message to other people, their friends, even their parents. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Marita, so how do you convince a young child that they're probably in the certain setup of this is their culture? How do you convince this young child that stop doing this because it's harmful to the environment, but then now start learning how to conserve the environment?
Well, that's what our show is trying to teach young children, especially the ones who have that culture mindset from like their parents and grandparents. So our show is to educate young youth and older people about the different types of challenges out there and seeing whether we can change it for the better, like to stop.
Mm-hmm. All right. The kind of lessons that you've learned and picked in all these kind of episodes for season 1, for Team Sayare, and now getting into for season 2, I believe it was, I think last week or so, when you guys had a whole watch party for the whole season 2, some amazing productions as well. What are some of these notable experiences and lessons actually you've picked up when doing this? Some of these things that you've learned, I was like, oh wow, so this actually happens. Could you share those to us?
probably my most memorable experience is I met Johnny, who's an eagle, at a raptor sanctuary, and that was the most memorable experience that I've had for sure, because I'm not as knowledgeable as I'd like to be about birds. And something that I learned that I didn't know is that wildebeest, when they migrate so that they can die, so that their numbers are steady, which I thought it put into perspective for me the incredible like self that is nature. And like,
Wait, so wildebeest migrate so that they can die?
yeah, because their population would grow too much and there wouldn't be enough grass, and that would affect the entire ecosystem. And I was like blown away. I had no idea. I thought
I'm also learning that today.
yeah, that was really cool. I enjoyed learning that.
Wow. So now I'm even curious, the kind of other fun facts that all of you have. So first off, Marita, when you look at animals, we always say that animals have their own, let's say, brain, and you say they might not know what, let's say, they're doing. Your experience with animals, are there other animals that you hate? Are there animals that you love?
Well, I don't really have favorites. Like, all animals in general are really nice. I really love animals in general. I don't really hate any animals. Just, I think my personal favorite is marine life, because I really like the ocean and how the ecosystem in the ocean works, and the fact that people are not really aware of what they do, like especially when they litter, like Shana mentioned earlier, into the ocean, that it builds up in the ocean, and some of the marine life feed on it thinking that it's food. So it messes with the digestive system and they end up dying. So there's an extreme decrease in marine life. So for me, I think my main goal is to protect marine life, because they are the most attacked now, especially since all the garbage is being thrown into the ocean nowadays. Yeah.
Right. Okay, let me remove the word hate. Let's say scared, because I am scared of snakes with my very big age. Are there animals that you look at and like, nah, I don't want that animal close to me?
Well, the animals we conserve to keep them alive, but some of them you don't approach. Like, you can't approach like a wild lion. You can't approach a rhino, especially if the mom has a baby, because it'll definitely charge at you. Snakes are actually very underestimated animals.
Oh, okay.
But it depends whether they're venomous or non-venomous. It also depends on the situation they're living in, the environment. So yes, in some certain situations, snakes are scary. Yeah.
How about you, Shane? Are there certain animals you look at and you're like, this is one clever kind of animal, and it just has its own mind?
I personally, I'm not that scared of any animal.
So you'd be playing around with snakes and all that?
I mean, I don't mind. I wouldn't approach a snake and like try touch it and everything. I just leave it to be, leave it to, live in its own environment, in its own habitat, on its own, without any disturbance. But I do feel like more of these animals should be kept away from human beings, because many human beings are trying to poach these animals. So, yeah.
Right. Hudson, there's a certain question here on our SMS number 2047. Someone kindly ask them their thoughts about how the Maasai men kill the lions, which is in their culture. And I think picking up on what you're talking about, you're not really understanding the whole aspect of poaching. But then even just picking up from this question that someone from one of the viewers asking would be, there is the whole poaching, but then others would want to understand it as, this is my culture. Yeah. Even as a young man, someone who's around 15, 14 years, a young child, they know when I reach a certain age, I'll have to do this as part of my culture. What would be your thoughts on that?
I've actually looked into this topic a lot. It's something that I think is a very good research topic.
Okay.
I think that in that instance, I know that there is work being done by conservation agencies to kind of change the tradition into like a sport, a type of game, like something that resembles the Olympics, rather than killing a lion. Because looking from this perspective, like I understand that that's the culture, but we're in a place in the world where the lion population is not stable, and especially for a country like Kenya, where we rely on tourism a lot, it's dangerous for if the animals are poached, we're going to lose a lot of income. People want to see the animals, and Kenya has a large tourism industry, and people come in to see the animals from all over the world, and that feeds the tourist industry, which then feeds the economy. So I see the point about killing lions as part of culture, but I also see the point as we need to conserve them in order to keep the economy going, and also for the protection of the animal. So I think that there are some stuff that there's stuff that could be done to make the experience, the culture of hunting the lions, maybe change it change it to something else. Not killing the lion. That's the main thing for me. Yeah.
So there should be a whole culture change, and they look for something, an alternative of that.
Yes.
Instead of killing the lion,
I think so.
they say let's do something else.
I think
for
that's
example.
probably at the point that we're in now in terms of the lion population is probably the best bet.
Right.
I think.
And because I mean it's a whole nature positive kids outreach program, which Marita not only affects even in Kenya. Some of these conversations are across even in Africa, which definitely Team Sare really focuses even in Africa. And a good thing we have Trish Sawe in the building. She'll be joining us in a brief, in a bit while. But then, because you've taken a look at even how other African countries do their own conservation, what do you think, even as young children in Kenya, what are some of those things that we should pick up from other cultures, other places in Africa?
Okay, like places like the coastal part of Kenya, they normally recycle plastic to make like jewelry to sell around the coastal areas. So it's a really good practice, especially with the amount of plastic that is being brought to the coastline. So it's good that all of the plastic is being recycled there. Also, places like Nigeria and South Africa are practicing those things to reduce the amount of plastic they have in their country, to also make the habitat and environment of the different species that live within those environments to live happily and without any stress of like eating something and it like being poisonous to them.
Right. Shana, who would you say is your hero when it comes to conservation, not only even in Kenya, but even globally?
I think Wangari Maathai really did something big for our country, protecting nature, and I feel like that really paved a way for many of our environmentalists, like today. And yeah, I think that she really played a big role in environmental issues. Yeah.
Right. I would also say Wangari Maathai would be mine. After that short break, I'd be curious for the both of you, Hudson as well as you, Marita, who your hero is. It doesn't have to be one. You could give me a whole list, and even back at home, 22047 is our SMS number. As we discuss the role of children in conservation. Children are at home right now, you with them there, but then what is their role when it comes to conserving the environment around them? And also, what is your role as a parent or a guardian on teaching them? They have told us what you need to do as well. Coming up later, we'll be also having Trish Sawe. She is part of Wildlife Direct. Will be joining us as well just to tell us all about this whole kids outreach program. Don't go too far.
Hey there, friends! Welcome to Kids on the Block, where fun and imagination come alive. We dive into magical world filled with exciting adventures and awesome friends.
What position were you in?
I was number 2.
What position were you?
Number 1.
He decided to cross the bridge by his house and look for food on the other side.
We're going to do half cup of chocolate chips, and the other one, we're going to do half cup of the blueberries.
So, grab your imagination hats and get ready to explore with us. Join us every Saturday at 9 a.m. for new friends, amazing stories, and tons of laughter.
Join us as we explore the journeys of those who defy the odds and break barriers. We dive deep into the stories of triumph.
Sometimes when parenting a child with a special need or whatever disability, family life becomes a bit complicated and you may end up raising the child on your own.
Here, we inspire.
I have a farm which one we showcase with other dyslexic youths and autism how to farm.
Motivate.
It's never easy, but what we do, the best thing is to work with another parent who has an elder child than yours.
And break through the barriers one story at a time. Push your boundaries beyond the limit. Saturdays at 8 p.m.
Cafe. This is TV 47. My name is Stanley Nyeringita. Karibu sana. This particular day we're discussing the role of children when it comes to the whole environment and everything they need to know. Even before the break, we just really dived on how this whole dissemination of information is done, what needs to be done as well. And right now, joining us as well is one very key figure when it comes to this whole outreach kind of program. Her name is Trish Sarah. She is Chief Operations Officer at Wildlife Direct. Karibu sana.
Thank you.
You've joined us at a very key part. So before the break, I'd asked Shana her key figure when it comes to conservation, and I promised even the rest that I'd get to know who is a role model when it comes to conservation, not only even in Kenya but globally. We could pick that, then also you tell us who you are and who your role model in conservation is. Marita?
Well, I also wanted to say Wangari Maathai, but for me personally,
yes.
And I think if it was spread everywhere, I think it would be my family. They're my heroes, because they're the ones who taught me from a very, very young age to keep on like recycling, doing this, being yourself when it comes to explaining things. And I generally, I respect them and I love them as my heroes for conserving the environment and everything and educating me on everything.
That's beautiful. How about you, Hudson?
I've got a few. So I've always loved Wangari Maathai from a very young age. I used to dress up as her on Hero Days.
Really?
Yeah, planting trees in her name. But I also love Sir David Attenborough and Jane Goodall, who have done so much for conservation. I just really look up to them. I've loved all three of them from a very, very young age.
So, and I know you have quite a number of years of experience when it comes to conserving environment. First off, who would be your role model?
So I say my mom.
Okay.
A lot of times it's the people behind the scenes,
yes,
who inspire us to be who we want to be. And I think from a young age, my mother has always been that my best critic, and also just pushing me to inspire me to be the leader that I am today. So beyond my mother, I think Wangari Maathai goes without say. As someone we grew up, we looked up to her, and the struggles that she went through has really shown us that we have to be brave. And I'm also privileged to work with Dr. Paula Kahumbu, who is also one of those brave women who inspires me to be able to push ahead when it comes to conservation. Yes.
I was also about to say, I think for me to also, well, as much as Wangari Maathai, but also say your CEO, Paula Kahumbu.
Yeah.
So who is Sewe, first of all?
So I wear many hats. As you introduced me, I'm the CEO of Wildlife Direct. But when it comes to this particular project, I'm the chief of party for the National Geographic's Team Sayari and Nature Positive Kids Outreach Program. A lot of times people ask, what is a chief of party?
Yeah.
There's no partying about it. Basically, it's just overseeing and managing all the technical aspects, the managerial aspects of seeing that Team Sayari be what it is today. And I am really honored and privileged to have been given that opportunity to take leadership on this special project. This project started in 2021, and it was a collaboration between the USAID, the State Department, Disney, and Wildlife Direct. So at a time when we were just coming out of COVID, we needed to find content for children that would really inspire children to really take care of the environment. And what we wanted was African kids being at the forefront in showcasing how we conserve and protect what we love most in our planet. And so Team Sayari was born, and it took us a year to produce the show, and that's where Maisha, Shana, Marita, and Adash and Riley, who are not here, came in. And we also have other kids across East Africa who also joined us. So there are about 14 children who are lead reporters, presenters in the show across East Africa. Yeah.
So how does it work now for the whole dissemination of information, as well as even sourcing for some of this content? Because it's generally in the entire, not only even in the country, but even in Africa. How do you source this information?
So when it came to production, Dr. Paula Kahumbu was very instrumental in looking for these stories. And usually it's interesting because she's my boss, but when it comes to this project, I am her boss. So she was the series consultant, being in charge of looking at stories across Africa, identifying who we should look into and interview. And so the team was able to go into the field and look at trailblazers, scientists, researchers, and people who are doing amazing work across the continent. We did film in Kenya, Rwanda, Tanzania, South Africa, and Nigeria. Our dream is to go across all of Africa and show people around the globe what Africa is made of. And so the stories was going out there, understanding the unique aspects of conservation that have not been seen out there, and telling the story from an authentic African point of view, that we love what we conserve. A lot of times people don't think that Africans love wildlife, animals, and so showcasing local people telling their own stories in their own voices, in their own languages, was something that we were very passionate about. But we also felt that there was a gap in content for children. So this program is targeting children between ages of 7 to 12, and we wanted conservation content that would be able to not only just impart knowledge, but empower children with skills to be conservation leaders today, not tomorrow. When I was in school, I was told, you are the leaders of tomorrow. But we are saying, these are our leaders today.
Right now,
And so that is why we went out looking for stories that would inspire other children to be able to do what they can do within their environment. Yeah.
Shana, as a now leader, do you feel like every time you are on the screen, you have impacted another child? Do you have that sense of impacting other people?
I feel like social media is one big thing. I feel like social media has been a platform for me to really make my voice heard, and I personally would like to use that to give people more knowledge on conservation. And yeah, I feel like being on the screen, since many people do watch TV and shows and stuff like that, it would really make everything that I say more known. Yeah.
All right. How about you, Marita? Since about 2021, when you started, even as a presenter, as even on the field as a reporter, do you feel like you have made impact?
Well, I hope so. I hope that a lot of young children and even adults are watching this show to educate themselves and learn more about conserving our environment. And that would be amazing if it does reach a lot of people, so we can keep our world healthy.
All right. Hudson, you'd mentioned that you really followed Wangari Maathai, and I'm pretty sure even so many other young kids, even for the outreach program. Young kids, remember growing up, you'd be told plant trees and all that. How can other young kids also be like young Wangari Maathais out here?
I think speaking out is the main thing in terms of conservation, because people don't know what they're doing damages the environment and hurts animals. So if you're lucky enough to be educated on that, I think tell your friends and tell people around you, and that's probably the best thing that you can do for the environment.
So there's something I'd asked them earlier about the awareness of conservation, really.
Yes.
Because there might be just some subtle and benign things people do that we'd assume, hii haina shida. Do you feel like people are really aware of the impact of conservation that it has?
So I do believe that awareness is important, because sometimes we do things without knowing that we are actually either contributing to being the problem in society when it comes to environment, or being the solution. So one of the things that we advocate for through Team Sayari is creating awareness. And as you can see, you are seeing 3 young conservation leaders here, but we have over 16,000 children across East Africa who are watching the episodes and taking action in terms of planting trees. Is one example that you've mentioned. A lot of people don't know whether they are planting the right tree. And we want to go beyond just planting trees to growing trees and growing the correct trees. So we have an episode on Team Sayari about forests that talks about the importance of conserving and why we need these trees here. And people realize that sometimes you're planting invasive species, thinking that you are doing something good for the environment, yet you're harming the environment. And then just simple things as keeping your own space clean. It's important that you don't throw litter randomly. Have a specific designated space for putting your trash, because that is keeping your environment clean and also helping yourself not to transfer germs, and it in turn touches to your health. So people don't know that there are some small things that we do that really do help or contribute to being, are you a problem or are you a solution? With Team Sayari, we want every child to know that we are the solution. We're looking at nature positive content. And so the kids are not just planting trees, but knowing what's right for the soil. What type of tree should we plant here? Is it indigenous? Is it exotic? Is it a fruit tree? What is the purpose for this tree? Is it just going to give us shade? But it also instills that sense of togetherness that I'm planting for the future, because most of the trees we are planting today, they are for people who will enjoy them 10, 20 years later. And we are enjoying trees that others who planted before us have given us the clean air and the space to just take a break from the hot sun. So appreciating all those kinds of things is important for us.
Yeah, and you've just picked what I really wanted to pick on with Shana. If we were to plant as many trees, because the president, the government, is saying that we need to plant about 15 billion trees. And you've seen kids in schools really being on the forefront of this, planting about 15 billion trees. First of all, do you think we'll ever plant about 15 billion trees in this country?
I think it's possible.
It's possible.
But then at the same time, some trees can grow and then their seeds can like fall in the areas around, and those trees start growing. So Yeah.
So it might even be a 30 billion plus. Marita, what kind of a life do you expect in the next about, I don't know, 20 years when you're about Sarah's age? At that time, if we are going to be planting about 15 billion trees right now, what kind of a life do you envision many years to come?
Well, it's also not about planting trees. It's also about keeping the streets clean, especially around the areas around like markets and towns. We need to keep those areas clean. So maybe in the near future, if we focus on planting trees and keeping the streets clean and following the regulations of not littering, keeping the oceans clean, doing the 3 Rs like we were taught in school, reduce, reuse and recycle. Those are very important Rs that we need to follow. And in the near future, probably Nairobi and Kenya and around this Africa, we can keep our environment thriving if everything goes well.
You mentioned all the R's there, reduce, and I used to really ask myself why, because I used to be told, always close the tap, don't leave the water running. And I used to ask myself, well, this water is still going back to the environment. What is the harm in that? Hudson, because I know you've been taught this, and young children are also watching this morning, and even for the parents, they're wondering what is the danger of some of these things like reduce, like leaving the tap open and leaving the water running.
It's a waste of water, really, because you like turn on the shower and then you go downstairs for 10 minutes, make tea or do whatever. That water is like, especially in Africa where we experience such horrible droughts, there are children who do not have access to water. Using that water in your home, not actually using it, just leaving it running, is taking away from the water that the environment has, because there's not a lot of water recycling going on I think in the developed world there is a lot more, but I think in Africa especially there's not a lot of recycling of water, so that water is going down the drain and then it'll go down mixed into sewage. There's not really anything that's happening to it. It's not benefiting the environment. So it's just disappearing, and yeah.
And this reminds me, so during the whole flood situation in the country, this was just this year. Think how fast we really forget some of these things. But at this time, how do you educate a child and tell them these are floods and this is what it means, and this is the kind of steps that we need to do to prevent such kind of happenings in the country?
So Team Sayari, as we've mentioned, has 20 episodes, and each episode has a different topic. We are discussing biodiversity issues, and we use the most simple way of communicating the importance of conserving. As Maisha says, when it comes to wastage, or when you're told close the tap or you leave, it's conserving energy. It's using that water. If you come, we have at Wildlife Direct, we have Wildlife Warriors Field Lab, where we would like to invite everybody to come and see how we use these kinds of analogies. So we have a kitchen.
Where is it located?
The Wildlife Warriors Field Lab is just adjacent to Nairobi National Park. It's past Nazarene University. And there it is like a wild space for children to come and learn about nature, and they do a nature walk. But we have a tented structure where there is a kitchen, and the water from the kitchen is piped onto the ground, so that when you're washing your plates, the water that goes when you're rinsing and everything is not just wasted, but goes onto the ground through a piped channel, and then it goes onto the grass and the soil, especially because, you know, Kajiado is a very dry space. So we want to show children that you need to use every single resource you have. And when we protect this environment, like they have said, clean cities gives us clean air. When we plant the right trees, we get the right kind of services, whether it's food, whether it's timber, whether it's medicine. So understanding that conserving the environment is our responsibility, and instilling it in children in the most practical way today makes it a lifestyle and not like a responsibility or work. So with Team Sayari, children learn about conservation in a more fun, relatable way. And so it doesn't feel like it's that punishment you get when you're in school, that when you do something wrong, you go and do a slashing or those kinds of jobs that they give you that really traumatize you. So we find the most fun way to engage children to learn these simple ways of conserving their own environment. And we look at the most relatable way. When you watch Team Sayari, you look at what is the concern in my neighborhood. Is it about plastics? Is it about drought? Is it about shortage of water? What kind of ecosystem services can I contribute to by conserving what I have within my space? So it makes you not feel helpless about taking care of your own space because, oh, we don't have an ocean. So we have oceans versus plastic. So this is one episode of Team Sayari. And our kids in Rwanda watched it. They don't have an ocean in Rwanda, but they were inspired to take care of their lakes, and Rwanda is known to be a clean city. So others in Kenya and Tanzania and everywhere else can say, hey, what can we learn from Rwanda? So most of these episodes is to inspire children to see other kids across the region and see what they can borrow from them, what they can learn from them, and just have this excitement that we are not alone. We have others who are just like us and also can be able to make a difference. Yeah.
Hatun always say Rwanda is one of the cleanest cities, as she says. Nairobi, do you think we'll ever get there? Because again, we are the now leaders really for this generation. 20 years later, I mean, you guys would really be on the forefront of giving some of these policies in parliament, in the government really saying this is what needs to be done. And the fact that you've started earlier, will Nairobi and other new cities in Kenya be that ever clean?
I think that that is possible for all over the world with the right mindset and dedication of those who are in power. Looking at Rwanda, I've been and it's really clean because there are laws about protecting the environment and not littering and looking after the beautiful environment that they have. And I think with that sort of mindset and dedication, then it's possible anywhere, but getting that mindset, getting that dedication and that discipline to do that is what's difficult. I think it's possible.
Right. Marita, I can see we have about, I think, 8 minutes or so. So I'm now curious. Season 1 is out, right? Season 1 is there, has, so far it's about 20 episodes. We've been told why someone really needs to watch out. But then what are some of those interesting bits that someone is going to learn when they're going to be watching Team Sayari?
You see, in our show, we have episodes that are really fun, that talk about more like fun facts about like specific animals. We can be talking about like a fun fact about, let's say, a snake called a puff adder.
I was waiting for you to say cockroaches. I'd really love to know fun facts about cockroaches, but anyway, continue.
The puff adder snake uses infrared receptors inside the necks that help them smell better, like in their environment to hunt. So it's not just about conservation, it's also about like little educational facts about different animals. And it's very fun, especially for young children who want to know a little bit more like about different animals. So it's a fun and educating show.
Shana, why would young children who are watching us this morning really want to engage in Team Sayari, and not only even just watching, but also be part of this outreach program?
I feel like there are many ways you can be part of this, but also small things go a long way, like planting that one tree in your backyard, or picking up any litter that you see on the road or the sidewalk. There are just many things, even just speaking your mind and making many people more aware of the issues that we face according to environment today would really go a long way. Yeah.
Right. So as she rightfully says, some of these things that also need to be done, the children are right now at home. I think they're waiting for the first week of September to continue with the education and go back to schools. So that means they can really be engaged so much right now.
Yeah.
What should parents, guardians listening to us this morning know when it comes to how they engage with their children?
So I think one, we encourage during the holidays, watch the episodes. There are 20 episodes and they are available online right now. Anyone who goes onto YouTube should be able to access Team Sayari. And with each episode, there is the different segments that you can learn about. One is learn about the trailblazers, the amazing people who are doing fantastic work across Africa. Number two, there is the Funzi's box. And they can learn about different things that they can do at home. And if you're not able to do what exactly you're seeing on television, you can actually create your own. So that's where innovation comes in. There's also Have Your Say, where you hear what other children are saying. So there's so many different segments that the children and parents can take on and learn. One of the things that we realized was that when we created this content for children, we trained teachers, and we have trained over 230 teachers across East Africa on conservation, because they are the ones who engage with children in schools. And teachers were learning so much about conservation from the episodes. We learn every day because nobody is an expert. And so it was interesting for teachers to also tell us, we've learned about this. And one of the things that Wildlife Direct did through the funding for this program from USAID was that we gave each school $500 to start a conservation or an environment initiative of their own. So we never told them, what do you want to do? They said, we're going to do waste management. And so we have children from Kibera, from Madare, who are doing waste management. We have those who are doing tree planting. And we have those who are probably doing fish pond rearing. So there's so many activities that children can start recycling, use materials you have at home to create something, and also just learn to reduce. Don't use what you don't need. Yes.
Before I get individually, your last thoughts in a sentence each. As you say, even for the teachers training them, the Ministry of Education has also incorporated some of these bits in the education system. They were telling me how it's not only even as a subject, but then it's incorporated in different subjects they learn on matters conservation. And right now we do have the competency-based curriculum, the CBC. What are your thoughts on this as well? How the education system has gone a step higher to teach about conservation?
I think it's important, especially streamlining all this content in different subjects. And one of the feedback we've had from people who've watched Team Sayari is that it aligns with what is on CBC. So teachers feel like this is additional complementary material that they can use when they are engaging children. When children come to the Wildlife Warriors Field Lab, we hear teachers saying, I'm a science teacher, and I can incorporate this and this. And you hear a literature or an English teacher saying, I can incorporate part of what I'm learning here in my subject, and mathematics, where you can probably say 2 elephants plus this. So that really helps with children remembering our stuff. And so we do encourage the streamlining and also putting some of this content, because it's not only just exposing children to conservation in different ways, but also for the teachers, it's making learning more fun, because kids don't want to just have boring stuff. We always say, discover for yourself, but above all, have fun. And so that's what we really focus on. And I wanted to say something. I know I had one of the audience asking about lions and culture. And we really incorporate and respect culture. But as Maisha was saying, I also wanted to add that, yes, there's the shifting of mind on alternative sources of activities. And when it comes to the Maasai, there's something called Maasai Olympics. And this was started by Big Life, which happens every 2 years. So Big Life is another organization based in Amboseli that brings the Maasai community together for these competitions, where instead of going to kill a lion, you have the Olympics to win medals in terms of athletic kinds of competitions. So you channel your energy in the right way and still conserve animals, because lions right now are less than probably 20,000 in our country.
Right.
So we always look into harmony, but also respecting culture and seeing how we can make things move together better.
Right.
Yes.
Ladies, thank you very much for your time. But before we wrap it up, a sentence each of your final thoughts. What you feel like, just a wrap of what we've talked, and something that you feel like the viewer watching us this morning really, really needs to know. I'll start with you, Sarah, as we go like this.
I think I'm very proud of Team Sayari, but I'm also passionate about storytelling for conservation. And this is one way that we are telling our stories in Africa. And it's a privilege to have African children speak about conservation and inspire other children to be able to be conservation leaders. So during these holidays, watch Team Sayari, do something about taking care of the environment, and pass it on to the next person.
Right. How about you, Hudson?
I think the most important thing to take away is educate yourself and educate others, and speak out when something is wrong, because that's how you change whatever's going on around you.
Fantastic. Marita?
To educate your friends and family about the challenges and issues in the environment, so we can educate more people about saving our country and making sure we stay healthy and clean. Yeah.
I personally think that people should be able to use every means they have to educate everyone around them, whether it's their teachers, their friends, their families, like Marita said, to make them more aware of everything around them, and not just what celebrities are doing and stuff like that. So, yeah.
Right. Thank you very much, ladies, for having this conversation with us. And I hope back at home they have learnt a lot. For the young children watching us, for the parents as well as the guardians, you've learnt a thing or two or 100 about what your role is as you watch us on conservation of environment. Trish Sawe, Chief Operations Officer